Independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if auto owner's insurance makes sense for you.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrill Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quattro family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
My name is Terry Schultz, CEO for the Rutherford County Area Habitat for Humanity. Republic Bank has really been a game changer. They have invested not only financially, but time to really listen so that we can move our mission forward. What I like about Republic Bank is they've come in asking, what are your needs? And I don't know that you get that any other place.
That's Terry's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC.
This is Brent Clark with my daughter, Carlisle.
We want to help you get ready for the holidays. So if you are just headed around the block or far away, stop in, gas up, and get some yummy treats for the car. Check out our holiday specials, including Mentos or Trident Vibes Bottle Pack Gum for $3.99 or Uncle Ray's Potato Chips 3-ounce bags for $1.99.
So no matter where your holiday travels take you, stop in any Clark's Pumpkin Shop and get stocked up on holiday candy, and thank you for being a customer.
Clark's Pumpkin Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
We'll play to our strength, which is our length and our height. And when I look at them and I marvel, and every time another coach comes in and watches us, they're like, man, you guys are huge. And I kind of look around and I'm like, yeah, I guess we are, aren't we? And when you can probably start a lineup of, 5'9", 6'1", 6'4", 6'5", 6'5", it's going to give you an opportunity to do some special things. And we have to rebound the ball a little bit better. Utilize that length offensively. Last year we were the best shot blocking team in the country. I think we'll be right up there again with Clara and Tiani, Amelia, all of them. And this is something that we wanted to do by design. A lot of the teams in our league are athletic, they're fast. We combat that with our length, and we feel like we can have some mismatches in a lot of different areas.
That's Kenny Brooks talking about his team, and they purposely made themselves tall, and they're going to be one of the tallest teams that you're going to see anywhere, even though they lost the transfer who was like 6'7", and so they're going to play to their strengths, where there'll be other teams in the SEC who will have more athleticism, but they're going to have to go with facing Kentucky's height, and Kentucky last year led the nation in block shots, and Kenny Brooks thinks they're going to be really good this year in that capacity as well, that they'll be one of the best in the country when it comes to that, and they're going to be much deeper. So tonight, I'm going to the game. I'm looking forward to Morehead State at Memorial Coliseum playing Kentucky. And Morehead State, Alan Feldhaus Sr. was just a great guy. Just a great guy, one of the top high school coaches of all time. Played basketball and baseball at UK, was actually a minor league catcher and had the potential of making the major leagues, but he was like a lot of guys. You got a wife and kids and stuff like that, and you're making no money and you can't be away from your family. So, and apparently I was told forever ago he was one tough defensive catcher. He's a really tough guy. So that doesn't surprise me. So he gave up his career in minor league baseball and then was a great coach at Mason County, where he won the state championship, one of the top coaches. And then his son, Alan, who's a good friend, and I think he's one of the best high school coaches, period, and happens to be a high school basketball coach and should have been the Eastern Kentucky coach a long time ago. He won the state championship. His brother, Willie, was a successful high school coach. And now, making her debut at Morehead State will be Ashton Feldhaus tonight. And you talk about being born to coach, Jimmy. She was born to coach. She's terrific. It's a great hire by Morehead State, we said at the time. And she's done a really nice job recruiting European players. really nice job, and she's smart and tough and disciplined. And I bet the crowd is bigger tonight because of the Feldhouses, and the Feldhouses will be there tonight. And I was texting up and back with Alan, who, by the way, is going to join us tomorrow at 12:30. And we were teasing each other because this is one tough dude, right? But he's emotional. It's his little girl going to be coaching at Morehead State, right? And the beauty part is, guess what? It's right up the road. It's so easy to go to games and stuff like that. So he's going to be wearing out the miles. And I'm so excited for Ashton. So excited for her. I think she's going to be a great coach. I really do. And the proud member of the Feldhouse family. Oh, yeah, Darren Feldhouse. Didn't he play for Patino? Talk about tough. He was one tough forward. So I'm looking forward to the game tonight. I want to see how good Moorhead is, and I also want to see what Kenny Brooks has. Going to the game, going to go to a lot of games this year. There's no question in my mind when it comes to the women that Kenny Brooks, as everyone is saying, has this sucker rolling. And I think they're actually underrated, but I have to be honest, there are a lot of women's basketball teams I don't know well enough. I don't know like I know the guys. But it seems to me with what they have, that they should be ranked higher than they are. That just seems to me. We're going to have Bo join us in a minute. Todd hopefully will join us shortly after that. The Lanterns, as we're going to get into Kentucky men's basketball. I want to mention my friends at the Quantrill Auto Group. They have a great deal for Subaru. Whoa, the Outback, as you know, has been a special car forever. 0% interest. 0 for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72, it's 1.9. 0% for 36 months. And I keep on talking about the Volvo, the XC60. It's a beautiful car. And I've now driven it twice. It is so smooth. I mean, the pickup, it explodes, but it's so smooth doing it. I love the car. My wife loves the car. I tease, but I think my wife loves the car better than she loves me. The Volvo XC60, whether it's a Cadillac, a Volvo, Subaru, doesn't make a difference. These folks are people-orientated. It's a group I trust. We now have gotten 3 cars over a decade from Quantrill. Quantrill Auto Group. And don't forget, the Quantrill family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise to get you the best in sales and service. And do we have a lantern ready?
Yes, we do. I can bring Bo in.
Okay, and if Todd joins us, Todd's never on time. One of these days I had to do for Todd, and I bet Bo agrees with me. The best thing to do to get Todd to be on time is tell him, hey, would you do the show at 12:15? Bo, you agree with me, right?
Do what?
To get Todd here on time, silly me. You'd think I'd learned by now, right? The best.
Hey, I told him we'd do it at his house together, and I pulled up 10 minutes ago and he wasn't there. And I said, where are you? He said, I'm not going to make it. I said, well, then you can kiss my butt. I mean, he's going to make it, but he's not going. He wasn't at his house to do it together, so whatever. Surprise.
Well, as I was saying, you would think I'd learned by now, right?
No question. Me too.
One of my 2 best friends growing up, matter of fact, I talked to him the other night, never showed up on time. So it got to the point he finally figured it out that if we were going someplace at 9 o'clock, we would tell him 8:30. And then he would say I'm early when he'd show up about 10 after 9. That's just the way Mitch was. I love Mitch. He just was never on time. He was a drummer. You know how drummers are. They can't show up on time. I should tell Todd, hey, Todd, can you do the show 12:15?
Yeah, exactly.
He'd probably still be late.
He would. And Maria's gone, so he can't blame her.
Huh. His excuse is out the window.
Out the window. That's right.
All right.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great, dude. Bo Lantern played for Kentucky what years?
79, 80, 81, and 82.
Okay. A man, you rip his heart and his family's heart open. They love blue. It just pops blue. So how much have you seen the team? And what do you think? And I'm just giving you my little thing, and then I want you to go. It's, oh, look at this. Todd said, did you email a link? Of course we emailed the link. Jimmy, didn't you? Give me a thumbs up, Jimmy.
I did. To whichever email I was provided, yes.
Oh, is there 2 emails for him, by the way?
Should be. Well, you know what it
is. Okay, let's forget about him for a second. As you rant, I will send another email out. Okay. Point being is this. I don't think any less after game 2 than I did before game 1. I don't think any more of the team. I mean, they got the crap beat out of them. So what? People forget about Ohio State, and last year, and the season didn't go down the drain. I think what happened against Georgetown was exactly what they needed. They learned from that. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I don't think any less of them. I don't think any more of them. I think the same way I did a couple days before the Purdue game. What do you think, Mr. Lanter?
Well, I feel like probably everybody else. I was impressed with the Purdue performance and disappointed in the Georgetown performance. That being said, one thing I have a lot of confidence in is Coach Pope, and he found out things he wanted to find out in those games. Whether it was, can this guy handle the ball? Can this guy handle this guy on defense? If we put this guy in this position, can he play, to the size he needs to? I mean, he got more out of it than we would realize, and that's what these games are for.
So you're not bothered either?
No, I think I don't know any specifics. I'm just saying I think when you play guys in various positions, you're not sure if they can, handle the ball. You're not sure if they can play this guy on defense. You're not sure if they can deal with this guy's speed and react on the right way and mix the offense and defense in with the other 3 or 4 guys he's playing with. And I just think he learned a lot of things that probably even the individual players don't realize what he was doing. And I think that's what most coaches do in those type of games. And I think the fact that it was Georgetown and Purdue, I think that makes it even that much better because you're dealing with a lot of talent no matter what.
Look, if they played Transy and Chandler would never have 5 turnovers, you don't learn.
Right, exactly.
Learn. And you know what? This is how the NCAA is just so stupid. This should have been going on before I showed up in the early 80s to do sports for LEX 18. There is no reason this shouldn't have been done for, oh, what a great thing they're doing. Why the hell didn't they do this 1,000 years ago? Seriously, and I'm not knocking Transy, but you don't learn anything. So here's what would have happened. Kentucky would ended up playing a team that was tough, and Chandler might have had a game where he had 5 turnovers and people would overreact and stuff like that. But now he gets to work on stuff before the season starts. Let me throw this at you because I'm a hustle guy. So are you. You had to be a hustle guy. So you understand this perfectly. When he had 7 rebounds the other night from the guard position, 7 freaking rebounds. Okay, there were times he was running out of chicken without his head. I don't care about that. He's a smart kid to learn, but the fact that he had 7 rebounds told me he was trying like crazy. There were a lot of things didn't work out. He wasn't smooth. He didn't set his feet like he does when he shoots. He's got great hands when he shoots. I look at his feet. He rushed most of his threes. He's going to calm down. The game will slow down. You answer this. I have no idea if he can play point guard or not. I don't. But I know people say, oh, you can't play point guard. Stop it. People grow and improve. I'm not saying he can. I'm not saying he can't. I am saying I love this kid's potential 3 weeks ago, and I don't feel any differently about this kid today.
I agree, and I think it comes back to, Pope will get him in the right positions, and, they let him play a point guard for a while and see how he handles it. And it's just as important for Chandler to fail and realize what he's not good at as it is to be successful and realize what he's done well. And he did rush some shots, but to be effective, and especially with his jumping ability to get up over top of people, he needs to learn how to rush shots but still be accurate. And I think that's what these games do. He'll be working on, moving in practice with guys guarding him and taking jump shots under stress. And that's what he needs to learn to do. He's got to have, you've heard me say forever, the coolest thing about basketball is when it feels like the bucket feels like it's twice as big as it is and you just get hot. And I don't care if it's, putting on a golf green or a quarterback throwing passes or a point guard taking jump shots. I mean, or anybody taking jump shots. It's so much of it's confidence. You get in that feel. And sometimes when you're outside of that comfort zone, and you're having to adjust and take it quick, you lose that confidence, and you can't be that way. I mean, look at some of these really good shooters, and they can shoot off balance. Now, it's not necessarily a good shot for a lot of people, but when they've got confidence, they knock them down.
Here's your son. Todd, can you hear me? Jimmy put him in, but I don't see his face.
That could be a gift.
I'm here, Alan.
Okay.
Todd, you need to learn how to use electronics.
You know,
Well, my phone doesn't allow me to have my face on camera when I'm driving. So.
oh, well, okay. I don't want you to do I don't want you to do anything that would be counterproductive to your health. So, okay. And I got to tell you, I really hate to admit this to your father who's listening. It's possible, and I just eliminated one. I had 2 emails that he has given me in the past to send him an invitation, and I think we sent the wrong one. So this could actually be my fault, so I have to no filter myself, and I'm eradicating the other email. So if this is my fault, you know how much this hurts for me to admit that I might have made a mistake with your son involved, with you listening?
Well, let me say this. If he had been at his house on time, we would have figured it out before you were on the air.
I was hoping you'd say that.
It is my fault, regardless of how many emails you have, because I should have looked for it earlier. But I was able to hear the beginning of the conversation. So
I knew there was a but. With your, I knew there was a but. Okay, so give me your synopsis. You heard we were saying. I think your dad and I are on the same page. Tell me if I'm wrong, Bo. That neither one of us think any less or more of this team because of what happened against Georgetown. It's a great learning lesson for him. It's much better than playing transy. You know, all that good stuff. What do you think of what you've seen of this, Mr. Todd Lanter? Played at Kentucky what years?
2012 to 2015.
It's a pretty good time to be a Wildcat.
It was a good time to be on the squad. That's for sure. I got some incredible experiences, but I think you're both right. I mean, I admittedly cared so little about this game, and its, impact on the season that I didn't even watch it live. I watched it back later. I didn't expect it to go quite as it did. I think, I would have thought we'd have been in the ball game at the end, and it was out more out of hand than even the score alluded to. But that's okay. We're down some guys, and we're trying to make adjustments. And I'll say the same thing that everybody that knows sports is going to say. Exhibitions are a good litmus test, but we're also using that time to try to work through progressions of plays and try to put guys in a position to see how successful they can be at a certain assignment. Maybe it's you want to see if a guy can be a better on-ball defender, so you give them less help and try to get them to stay in front of their man, without as much shading on defense. Or maybe it's we're passing up, just pounding it into the post to the big men and getting easy buckets, even if we could, to go through play progressions and see what kind of open shots we can get and let the guys get a feel for how the offense moves when a certain look isn't there. And those are things that there's going to be a good portion of games early in the season where we're going to be able to get to just a punch into the paint and post up on the block and get a basket when we need it. But that doesn't really help us to work on over and over and over again in an exhibition game, where what we're looking for is how to develop an offense and get through progressions where when the defense is taking something away, we're able to adapt and go within the flow of an offense rather than just scramble. And I think we saw a lot of that. Alan, I know when you and I were doing pregame shows and talking through your show on No Filter the last couple of seasons of Cal's era, we got frustrated because if guys didn't have the first option, we went into a ball screen situation, late game shot or late shot clock situation, and we were just playing one-on-one or trying to force up shots that didn't come within the flow of the offense. Pope's very adamant about creating habits that you don't respond that way. You know what to do when something's taken away, much like the progressions of a quarterback in a football game. They know when, this isn't there, you go to this, and all else fails, you go to a check down. And he's teaching the offense how to work within the framework of what we want to build. And that's what a lot of these exhibition games are about. So with all that said, yeah, there's some things that I saw that need to be improved on. They know, but that staff knows better than anybody what those things are, because they know what they were looking for. And, I know the three of us have been fortunate enough to see some practices. We have a inkling of what it is they're trying to accomplish and what sets they're trying to get to and what position they're trying to put guys in to be most effective. But truthfully, this is just an ability to learn from. It's not about necessarily winning. Although I know us and the fans would have liked to have seen, running through the preseason without any flaws. I'm perfectly comfortable with us losing a game like this And it feels good that we played well against Purdue as well. But this team, this Georgetown team, is going to play a lot more like the SEC teams that we're going to be facing this year than the Purdue team was. So it's good that we got this matchup, and we're going to learn from it.
I do have one concern, and I said this before the Georgetown game, and one game wasn't going to totally change my mind, but I'm concerned about free throw shooting. They've done a poor job shooting free throws, 23 of 35 in the last game. They really haven't shot free throws well. If a team is shooting 65.7 or 66%, personally, I think that stinks. You guys in particular, unless my memory is not good, we're both very good free throw shooters. And it's a little concern. I've always been concerned, I think, more about free throws than anybody else who's got a big mouth behind the mic, because they're free throws. And I'm not picking on Nazi. I love Nazi, but he was 0 for 6 against Arizona. And had he hit 3 for 6, there's no overtime, and Kentucky wins a national championship. And you can make a case that maybe a couple national championships have been won or lost for Kentucky with free throws. So I'm concerned about it. Nobody else is talking about it. It is early. It is early. It is early. But it is a concern that I think no one else will talk about. Do you guys agree? You think I'm overreacting, Dad, then son?
I definitely think free throws are extremely important, and it goes back to me again, that confidence thing is you have to step up to the free throw line and know you're going to make it 90% of the time. And if you're not, you need to be shooting 100 before practice and 100 after practice. And that people always ask me, and believe me, it's not that I got to shoot a lot of free throws, but you really, when you really zone in and you practice free throws like you should, and you shoot a couple of hundred a day or whatever in practice, and you step into a game situation, you don't see any of that stuff. If you've really practiced your free throws, it's a habit. You know, you take 3 dribbles, you take a deep breath, your eye on the rim, and you shoot it. And you don't see any of that. You don't really hear anything. You don't see anything, and that's a training thing, and it's a confidence thing. Again, it's so I definitely think it's something you can work on and get better at. Obviously, your shooting guards and your shooting forwards are going to probably be a little bit better overall than your big men, but it's something they have to get comfortable with, because those free throws are extremely important. And they're more important the tighter the game is, and the later in the season it is. I mean, so you got to get comfortable shooting free throws. You also don't want to be timid about getting fouled, because that can actually affect you on the floor. You got to want to be aggressive, and you want to get the old style 3-pointer. Make the bucket. Don't be scared to go to the line.
Todd, do you think I'm overreacting at this point, being concerned, not hitting a panic button, being concerned about free throw shooting, even though it's really early? I like to look at trends early, and hopefully it's not an issue.
Absolutely not. You're not being overly concerned. I don't think you're being concerned enough, if I'm being blunt. And I'll give a couple tidbits on this because I'm pretty passionate about it. Growing up playing ball with Dad, and him being around, he was a coach at a young age, but let the coaches do their job from kind of middle school on. But I was always in the gym getting, working out with him and stuff. And there's a lot of factors to that. First off, free throw shooting is something that you don't need anyone to be in the gym with you for. You go through shooting drills. It's good to have a rebounder. If you're trying to get game experience, you need 9 other guys. And, there's a lot of factors with basketball that do require a little bit of help in the gym, and free throw shooting is not one of them. You can go lock yourself in the gym for a couple hours and knock down a couple hundred free throws every day and improve it. It's not even really, in my eyes, on the coaching staff if guys are missing free throws. Obviously, you want them having them shoot them in practice, and especially after practice when you're tired, so that you get the rhythm down and you got muscle memory for it. But really, that's something that every basketball player should take their pride in. I mean, everybody wants to talk about how many points you put up at the end of a game. They're literally called free throws. Go practice your free throws and find your rhythm, and don't change your system, and do it every time and get the free points. And to Dad's point, it does allow you to change the way that you play, especially in an end game situation where you've got a tight margin, because if you can't hit free throws, you're a target for the defense. The coaching staff on the other sideline is well aware of who's not going to knock down free throws and who to foul. And on the other side of that token, if you're a good free throw shooter, they don't want the ball in your hands at the end of a game, because they know you're going to step up with confidence and knock them down. And also to Dad's point, I don't care how tight the margin is or how big the arena is or how big the stage is. Obviously, you're going to get nervous, but that those reps that you take when nobody's watching is what builds the confidence for you to step up and knock them down. And if you've done it enough times, the best basketball players on the planet know that you're completely unwavered in those situations. It's something you've done repeatedly over and over and over again, and nothing changed. It's not like a putt, on a golf course where you got to have a different read for a 5-foot putt depending on the green and the ball placement. It's something that's very consistent. There's no wind. The line doesn't move. The goal doesn't raise. The ball doesn't change. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And if you practice something enough times, it breeds confidence and you'll step up and knock it down. And to that point, so much so that I remember growing up being nervous about a math test, and Dad would be like, it's just like free throw shooting. If you do the work and you do the practice, you have nothing to be nervous about. You go in and you just do it again, like you've done 1,000 times over. It was always kind of a frame of reference for life in our household, because it's something that was instilled in me from a very early age. And I never understood, guys that don't have the confidence to step up and knock down a free throw when they're put in that position, because I was eager to get to the line. It was tough for me to score against those guys. I mean, I was undersized, not as fast, wasn't as quick, couldn't create as much space on jump shots. But if I could get into their body and get to the foul line, I know I'm getting 2 points. And I think that that's something that is a little bit of a lost art in today's day and age, but it shouldn't be. It's the way that this game is structured and the way that the flow of the game goes now. If you can get to the free throw line and get your team 3 points, I don't know what the actual numbers say for winning percentage, but you gotta have a good free throw percentage as a team. And I think that's something that will change as the season goes on, but I don't think that's an excuse for being bad at it early on, because that's something that's been, this isn't like something that changes within an offense or that a coach can alter for you. This is something that these guys should have been experts at by the time they get to this level of basketball. And so for me, their shoulders pretty squarely that they need to take the time and effort and get in there and put the work in. And we could be one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country because we've got the talent to do so.
Gentlemen, question. Cal used to say this all the time, and I bring that on purpose. It's not like Cal doesn't know how to coach. I heard Pope say it the other day when we were allowed to practice. Make the simple play, make the simple play, make the simple play. And what I saw against Georgetown, which shows me, I think it happens. I'm not saying the team has totally lost their cool. It's a game. It happens. They were not making the simple play. They weren't trying to make the simple play, not all the time, but they missed some opportunities to make simple plays. And until they start making the simple plays, they're not going to get into a proper rhythm. I mean, there was a point early on in practice where Pope just stopped. Hey, make the simple play, make the simple play. And then they go play Georgetown, and there were no simple plays. It's one of the things I think they need to do if they're going to start living up to their potential. Get the layup, do this, do that. Don't make it difficult. And there were a lot of times the shot clock is winding down, and they forced something because they couldn't penetrate. The forearms that were stopping them defensively, and they missed opportunities to make the simple plays. Do both of you guys give me shorter answers? Do both of you guys agree with that?
I'll go first, because I think you take a deep dive into the way the game's changed. Todd knows this era much better than I do, but I really feel like, yes, make the simple play, but I think that's changed a lot. Now, these guys are familiar with it, but in my era, everybody stayed 3 or 4 years. And everybody knew where they were going to be on the floor in certain plays, and we had options. I mean, if I came down the floor and threw a bounce pass to the forward, cutting out on the wing, and cut one direction or another direction, everybody on the floor knew where I was going, and everybody knew what everybody else was doing. And I really think because of the whole one and dones and the nature of the game, and now you got, and my era, there was no 3-pointers and no shot clocks, and I think a lot of that has kind of gone away. I'm not saying that obviously Cal and Coach Pope aren't correct, but in my era, make the simple play, you still kind of stayed in a rhythm and you knew everybody a lot better as opposed to the game nowadays. Now you've got people that are only there 1 year and aren't as familiar with a system and a set of plays as much as what I would call more freelancing, although Todd would always tell me that it's not really freelancing, where it's just like organized, a little less organized than I was used to. But Todd, what do you think?
Yeah, we had a thing we said on the floor when Cal was here that was called one more. And that was, in a situation where the ball swings from, say, the right wing or elbow extended to the head of the key, and maybe he's got a step to get into the paint, but you know that the help's there. You know how the defense is going to react. And the next pass to the elbow extended on the other side is there. They're not in the passing lanes. You make that pass quick, and then you make one more pass to the corner. Defenses can't react fast enough to get there and close out. So one more was kind of our one of our things that we implemented to make sure that we were thinking, how do we, yeah, this might be there, but we know that this is there. And let's get to that as quickly as we can, because the defense can't react fast enough to take every option away. So that's something that comes to mind. And Pope's implemented that in his own way. And we have incredible shooters. So in situations where, the defense gets bogged down or overloaded on one side, there's always that one more pass or a skip pass, or maybe it's a backdoor cut. Maybe that swing action happens and the defense is trying to play passing lanes and you've got a backdoor cut to the basket. Those are simple plays that are just reactive. And everybody knows the phrase that's ever picked up a basketball: take what the defense gives you. And I think at this level, in a Power 5 conference at a school like this, that's more true than anything, because they literally can't take away every option. Even the best possessions on defense, there's a hole somewhere. And it's just a matter of moving without the basketball and understanding how defenses are taught to react when put in a certain situation, a lot like chess. Like, if I do this, I know they have to do this. And if they do that, then this is where the hole's going to be. And if you can approach it that way, and we have a very intelligent group of guys on this team, extremely intelligent, and a very capable and intelligent coaching staff that knows how to teach them those nuances. And if you can understand the game at that level, and that does take time playing with the team and getting a flow for each other, but if you can understand the game at that level, those simple plays are something that will come and develop as the season goes on, because you just learn how to react based on what the defense is doing. And I kind of use this example all the time, and I know you told me to be short. I'll be very quick. But like, when you're playing a pickup game with guys that don't know how to play basketball, it's a lot more difficult to score and operate offensively because you can't predict what the defense is going to do. But when you're playing at a level like this, especially with a coach on the other sideline that has a habit of doing X, Y, and Z in a given situation, then you do know what they're supposed to do. You know where the defense is supposed to move. If I do this, they're going to do this, and that will leave this open. When you get to that stage and that level of execution, basketball becomes a lot more like chess than we'd like to admit. And it's very simple to find where those holes are.
Let me throw something at both of you real quick. As guys who love Kentucky, I'm curious your take. If you guys give me a couple lines each about the football team. And it was a great win on Saturday, but I still don't think Stoops is safe. I think the record will indicate that. I have said for quite a while that there was a path to, because these kids haven't quit, which I applaud them. I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, they haven't quit. You beat Florida, and all of a sudden, there's not a crazy shot of making a bowl game. But if they don't win another game, there is no way on this earth that he's back coaching this team. That's what I think. If you guys want to comment on football, if you don't, that's great. But, you guys go to football games and you love sports. I'm getting a frown. Should I have not asked you this? Either one of you guys got a comment on this? Or you want to leave it alone?
No, I'm not afraid to make a comment. I'm going to go back to just, I know very little about football. I mean, I played football, but I've said this to you before. I know the issues we had with 15 very recognizable, or 12 to 15 very recognizable basketball players at the University of Kentucky, that everywhere you went, people knew who you were. And I know the issues we had. I can't imagine what Coach Stoops or any football coach or any soccer coach or baseball coach goes through when you're dealing with, 40, 50, 60, 80 athletes. And when you get to football, each one of those athletes' whole thought process is, I'm a bigger bad, than you are. And so I think he's got a lot to deal with. I think Kentucky seems to always not be quite as deep, and probably not quite as fast, or as many people that have that kind of speed. and over a period of time, we just get beat down and get tired. I think the defense played phenomenal Saturday, but I still think in general we just don't have the depth of a lot of these teams. My only concern or comment, I guess, and I don't want to insult Coach Stoops, and it's not meant to be a coaching thing, but a couple of years ago, Kentucky and Missouri were kind of at that middle echelon, top half of the middle, I guess. And Missouri seemed to take a step up, and we seemed to take a step back. And then Vandy stepped up, and South Carolina stepped up. And I don't know the reason behind it. I can't say that it's coaching. I don't know what it is, but it's a little frustrating. But I also think he's got enough talent. We'll get there. I hope. Obviously, nobody expected to beat Auburn. We did, so hopefully he's heading in the right direction.
Mr. Lanter, young Mr. Lanter?
Not so young anymore, but
No.
I think, y'all, Dad said didn't have threes back in his era, and it just reminded me, y'all are getting up there, you know?
I am up there. Your dad's
sure,
getting up there. I am up there.
Make sure you're eating that black garlic, Alan.
You won't let me forget that.
All jokes aside, I like Stoops. I like Stoops. You know, personally, he's always been great to me. I think as far as the football team goes, to Dad's point, he's got an incredible amount of stuff to deal with that the everyday fan doesn't recognize or give enough credence to. The NIL situation is a cluster. I mean, he's got to spend an obscene amount of money for a bunch of guys, and everybody's looking at the guy in the locker next to him saying, well, I'm better than him, and I outperformed him last week, or I had a better practice week than he did. Why is he getting this? And it's not only the starters. I mean, something Dad and I've talked about quite extensively is you're playing in the SEC. 4 or 5 other Georgia and Auburn and Florida and Tennessee and all these major football schools have an obscene amount of money to give to these athletes. And we're not talking about just first stringers. We're talking about they're deeper at every position, 3x what we are. We might have a better player at a given position, but we don't have the best starting lineup on the field most of the nights out there. And we certainly don't have a better second string than a lot of these guys. And it's really tough to get through a football season with the grueling nature of that game with a healthy roster. And they just got more money and they're deeper everywhere. And so it's tough to compete in the SEC. There's a lot of factors that go into why some of these teams stay at the top, and it's hard to break into that upper echelon as a team like Kentucky. So he's up against the wall from the start. And then you got a situation where if a guy's not performing well and you bench him, he's just going to leave. He's just going to transfer. And that's not a position that I envy for any coach at any sport in this day and age. I love NIL. I think it's a great move for the future, but it's not something that's easy to navigate, especially from a coach's perspective. And that weighs a huge factor on this. My other piece is, and also to Dad's point, the defense was incredible. I don't want to take anything away from them. The stops they got, particularly at the end of the game, saved it, and they stepped up and performed. And he's clearly got a pretty good hold on the locker room, whereas in years past, it felt like things were kind of falling apart at this stage. So I like where we're at, but it's not. I mean, we're gonna have to sneak Florida and Louisville or Vandy. Like we're not beating Vandy, right?
Why not?
And
but look, here's the deal, and I got to go, but here's the deal. On paper, no, but Vandy just lost the game, okay? And if they win their games going into Vandy, these kids are going to feel really good about themselves.
I agree, and I hope that's the situation.
Is a momentum thing. Look, they don't beat Florida. I think Stoops is taps. Yeah. That's me.
Last point, because I know you got to go, but to that point, who are we going to get? I mean, coaches are getting fired left and right in the SEC because it's that competitive of a league, and everywhere across the country, paying $50 million buyouts in some cases. Who are we going to go get? And I don't want to go open that can of worms right now, but it's whoever you bring in here is going to have to either have a better pedigree than Stoops or be somebody that's got ties to the program like Summerall or something in order for the fans to be happy, or we're just going to complain and moan about that guy. And he's not guaranteed success when he steps in here either. So it's a very tough figgy situation where it's like, is the grass really always greener?
It's
or do
not
we just
always
have
greener.
It's not. And I think we're in a position where we're, bottom tier in the SEC or lower level in the SEC, where we're going to have to. It's going to be a year in and year out thing where we have to just change this program. And I know he's had a long tenure here and had a long runway, but it's not something that's going to be a quick fix, no matter who you bring in.
Amen, gentlemen. The law firm of Lanter and Lanter and Lanter and Lanter without Maria. So the young one didn't have an excuse as to why he was late today, but that's okay. That's okay. Appreciate you both, and may I wish that under your Christmas tree there's plenty of black garlic for both of you.
I appreciate you very much.
I got to say one thing real quick.
Yeah.
What about that World Series?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
It just every pitch was intensity, and the plays defensively, offensively, whatever. These guys were so good clutch-wise. It was clutch. Sure, there were some mistakes, and that's just baseball. But the clutch plays on both sides were absolutely spectacular.
Unbelievable. It really was. That last, all of it, but that last game was just, crazy. You thought one was going to win. There was no question they're going to score, and you get, a play at the plate, and then the same thing happens the next bottom of the next inning. It was unbelievable.
Gentlemen, basketball is back. Yes.
Let's go.
Yes. Hopefully you guys will join me shortly down the road.
Whenever.
Thank you both so much.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Appreciate you, Alan. See you.
The Lanters and Lanters. Generations of big-time hoops in the state. Two men who love this place as much as anybody. Love this place as much as anybody. It's true. It's absolutely true. And it's true that I think the world of Elliott Services. You need an electrician? Wow. They're the people to call. 859-255-5788. 859-255-5788. I've mentioned this. Chuck Ely became a friend when we needed some work. I don't remember, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So we tried him. Our system where we live is terrible. He really had to do a whole bunch of fixing. And he did, and it was really good. So when Judy got the XC60 that she loves, the Volvo, we needed work because we tried a plug-in overnight and our outlet got black. And I was worried about a fire. So Chuck sent a crew from Elliott Services. They were great. We have a plug-in. It is beautiful. There was no issues. They were clean and polite. And you can't ask for anything more. Elliott Services, 100% employee-owned, licensed, background checked, non-commissioned technicians. Employee-owned. They own the company. It's great. Residential heating and air services, whatever you need. Home generator, whatever you need. Home electrical handyman, whatever you need. EV charger, installation and maintenance, whatever you need. Heating and air, preventative maintenance, whatever you need. Voice, data, Wi-Fi solutions, underground utilities, service and installation of traditional heat pump split system. You get the picture. Whatever you need. Electrical renovations and fix-ups. And HVAC systems, whatever you need. Elliott Services, 859-255-5788. 859-255-5788. Mark Story coming up next. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no
holiday candy, and thank you for being a customer.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
I'm Kathy Bingaman. Over the holiday, there was an attempted fraud attack. My personal banker, Mary Rose, and I networked together, and the first thing that I thought of was I have to text her. And it was just within the next few minutes, there was an entire team that came together collectively. And that's just not the type of service that you typically get from your bank.
That's Kathy's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank, time to thrive. Member FDIC.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrill Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru! The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal! 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quattro family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5. WLXG Lexington, an LM Communications broadcasting station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Welcome back. Thank you to the Lanthers, Bo and Todd. Always fun chatting with them. And I think I just learned something about Mark's story. We have something in common. We both were history majors in college. Is that correct?
It is true for me.
Me too. Interesting. All these years I've known you. And it's interesting. AI just came up with that information. Because, I get stuff from AI. I'm guessing you're like me. It's like, it's usually really good, but there have been some things where you go, is that really true or not? So Mark Story been a columnist since 2001 with the Lexington Herald Leader. Started at the paper in 1990. Kind enough to join us. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Great, Alan. Thanks for having me.
Question. I called it, I don't know who said it first. I'm sure others were saying the same thing. I called the game against Auburn the Fire Bowl. They were chanting, as you know, fire freeze. He is gone. They owe him $15 million. I personally don't think Stoops is out of the fire yet, but he sure did a lot to help himself out. What do you think of Stoops' emotion after the game, where they got the big bro hug with Mitch and on the SEC network? He even said, "You're trying to make me cry." And I saw, at least in my recollection, about as much emotion in an interview that I can't ever remember with Stoops after winning that game. What was your take on the emotion and the events of Auburn?
Well, I just think, they'd lost 10 SEC games in a row. They've been in a really bad stretch. Last year was a bad year. They were 4-8, 1-7. This year it started 2-5, 0-5. I mean, just to win again, Auburn is good defensively, and they have a really good running back. They're terrible pretty much everywhere else, but it's still Auburn, and Kentucky was 1-19 in its last 20 meetings with Auburn. So to go down there and beat them on the road, I mean, that was a good win. And it's been a long time since they'd had a good win, over a year since they had that upset at Ole Miss. So I just think, all the hard work and all the criticism and everything that sort of has gone into this, I think that's sort of what was coming out there.
But are you like me, his fate probably has not been decided based upon what happens the rest of the season? I'm basically have been saying if they don't win another game the rest of the season, he's not going to survive. And they get to a bowl game, he's going to survive. And if they beat Florida, it's not crazy to think that they can go to a bowl game. And I said that last week, nor did I predict they'd beat Auburn, by the way. So let's just be no filter on myself.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what beating Auburn did is opens a pathway to sort of save this thing. If you beat Auburn, and if you can beat Florida, and if you can beat a really good Tennessee Tech team that's 9-0 and ranked number 5 in the FCS, then you're at 5 wins, and then you've kind of got 2 chances to go try to upset somebody to get bowl eligible. And obviously Vanderbilt and Louisville have better teams than Kentucky, but Kentucky's won its last 4 games against Vandy in Nashville, and it's beaten Louisville the last 4 times they've played at the L&N Federal Credit Union Cardinal Stadium. So, who knows?
I'm glad you know the name of the stadium. I had that's a mouthful to get all that out. As everybody's trying to make as many dollars. Yeah, I just kind of think if they get to that point, where they win every game until they play, Vandy and Louisville. These kids are going to feel so much better about themselves. And the one thing I keep on saying, and I've said for quite a while, that I thought they quit against Louisville last year, but these kids have not quit. I've been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. It's a credit to the players, but it's also a credit to Stoops, because I thought he lost the team, and these kids are playing hard for him. So I think he deserves a compliment, even though the record stinks. Is that fair, not fair?
No, that's actually what I wrote out of the Auburn game. I think you have to tip your cap to a team that hasn't quit. And I agree with you. I thought last year that they let go of the rope, and the effort in that Louisville game was, not something the program should have been proud of. But that has not been the case this year. That the team has played hard. They obviously have not always played well, and sometimes when they've played well, they've managed not to win in kind of maddening ways. But all that said, they have come back each week, and to this point, they've played hard, and it was it was easy to feel good for the kids who finally got some fruit for all their labor.
Nice way of putting it, fruit for all their labor. And they keep on pushing and pushing. I find it interesting that Cutler did not have his best game. Everybody knows that. But I think because of his reputation, which has grown, he's the co-freshman player of the week in the SEC because of what he's been doing in the past, not because of Saturday night, but I think winning obviously helps when you get those awards. And Farmer, the offensive line, was a co-offensive lineman. So Kentucky with the win, getting a little love, which they haven't seen much of.
Yeah, I can't say I've studied those SEC weekly awards real closely. I assume your team has to win to get one, because Cutler obviously had played far better against Texas and against Tennessee than he did at Auburn. But, they did find a way to win. And one thing about him, in the very small sample size in which we've watched him, he doesn't seem to get two up or two down. He just plays. They had a really bad interception right before halftime, and allowed Auburn to get on the scoreboard in a game where they were really struggling, but came right back out the first drive of the second half and took Kentucky down the field and converted a couple of third and longs on a touchdown drive. And I think I think for a quarterback, you need to have a short memory, and he appears to have that.
Unflappable for a young kid. I'm with you. I mean, and a couple of his picks have been bad. I know one of the picks a couple games ago, he said, "Hey, my fault. He was trying to throw the ball out of bounds and he slipped," but he still said, "It's my fault." And I like how he takes ownership of what he does.
Yeah, I think he's been impressive. I think he's played well. I think he's handled himself well. I think, he's what, and obviously it's a small sample size. We'll see how it goes, the rest of the year. I think he's done everything you could have wanted him to do.
Let's flip a little to basketball. I'm curious as to your opinion. My opinion of this team hasn't changed before Purdue. My opinion of this team didn't change before Georgetown, and it hasn't changed after Georgetown. They got the crap beat out of them, so what? People seem to forget about Ohio State last year. It's a great learning tool. You don't learn squat if you play transy, with all due respect. It really didn't bother me. I actually thought it was good for them. As silly as it sounds, because you've seen this, Mark, for a million years, and failures sometimes breed success. So I thought what happened the other day, okay, they didn't handle getting a forearm to their chest and didn't handle it well. They didn't handle this. They didn't handle that. Okay, big deal. It wasn't a big deal to me at all.
Well, I would agree with you in the point, the one thing that's interesting with these exhibition games, now that they're playing other Division I schools, they feel like real games. So I think somewhat the reaction is like, hey, we took a bad loss, but you're right, it didn't count. And I think they probably will benefit a great deal from what they learned from that game and, some of their weaknesses. And the other thing about that, they were playing without, 3 of their 5 probably most talented players. So,
might have something to do with it, just like last year the point guard had 2 good shoulders, and a guy who played his best 5 games, didn't hurt his hand wrist, and a kid from halfway around the world didn't have the foot issue, which means he could have played all year. Might have been a different result when they played Tennessee in the NCAA tournament. So you say injuries don't count, but they do count.
They definitely count, and but to your larger point, I agree with you. I think probably they benefited from that, and I'm not going to get too worked up about an exhibition game one way or the other.
I think it's really cool throwing a curveball at you. The Michaela Epps It was last week, and I didn't talk about it, but she became the coach at her school, Marion County. I think that's great. I don't know why I'm so excited for her. And from her dad, as you know, and know him pretty well, and obviously she was born into the business. You never know, but I think she's going to be a really good basketball coach, and I'm happy for her.
I think Michaela has a very high basketball IQ, which is a good place to start. And I think she'll be able to communicate with kids. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But, yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a chance she could be really good at this.
Yeah, and I really like your second point. I think she really likes kids, and I think she has a way of communicating that'll be softer than her dad treated her. And I'm not saying her dad did anything bad or say anything like that. Please don't go there. It's not where I'm going. But her dad was old school and tough, and he said he was tough on her. That's, whatever. And I think she's a next generation will be a little softer. I could be wrong about that, but that being my guess.
Well, I mean, Michaela, I think, has a outgoing personality, and I think she'll be able to reach kids. So I'm anxious to see how she does.
Yeah, me too. And she's got a great smile. She has a really infectious smile. And her dad is old school and was very successful. I thought when they won the championship, he was, one of these days I'm going to do this. I don't know. I don't know if you've done a column on this, but who are the most underrated players in the history of Kentucky basketball? And I think Anthony Epps is one of them because he played with so many stars, yet he did a really good job at point guard and was overlooked. And had they won the national championship game against Arizona, that ridiculous, crazy, beautiful shot he hit would be thought of better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he was perfect for that 96 team because he was team first, didn't need the basketball to didn't need to score to feel good about his contributions, and just had all the positive intangibles and was a winner. And you're right about that shot he hit to send the national championship game in 97 into overtime. I mean, if Kentucky had gone on to win that game, that would be one of the most famous shots in college basketball. It's interesting. Kentucky guards have hit 3 amazing shots in the NCAA tournament that nobody remembers because Kentucky lost all the games. There was Sean Woods in the Leitner game. There was Anthony in the Arizona game, and then there was the shot Patrick Sparks hit to force overtime against Michigan State in the 2005 Elite Eight, and another amazing shot. And all 3 of them came in games Kentucky ultimately lost. So those shots are not remembered at the level they otherwise would be.
Which is kind of sad. And I can picture Anthony's shot. He just stopped and popped from it seemed like almost 35 feet, like he was just taking a jump shot and nothing but net. And the confidence to do it in that moment was so pure clutch. So clutch.
I haven't watched that shot in a while, so I don't as I remember it, somebody flew by him as he went up to shoot, and he sort of double pumped and then hit a jump shot.
I don't remember the double pump. Now you're going to – okay. I just wrote it down. I got to go back and look at this shot, Mark. You could be right. I thought he came down and stopped and popped. I will look at that. I need to look at that. Interesting to take on that. With Sean Woods, I've teased him many, many times. That shot he hit that banked in, he said he took that shot all the time. And I'm going, Sean, I saw every one of your games. I never saw you take a shot like that. Oh, no, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. But it was a great clutch shot.
Well, the degree of difficulty on that shot was off the charts. It was a much more difficult shot than Leitner hit on the other end to trumpet.
It's kind of like the shot you take in a game of horse, right? You don't expect it to go in, and it does. Just curious about a couple things. Bob Trumpy passed away over the weekend, and I don't know how much you listen to Bob. Mike and the Mad Dog in New York are considered the greatest sports talk team of all time, and they were great. But I also believe, and I'm from New York, I just say this, it got hyped even more because they're from New York, and they literally took an entire town over. Absolutely, they deserve all the praise that they get. In my humble opinion, Bob Trumpy in a different way was just as good to me, he was the king of sports talk. He didn't back down from anybody, anything, anytime, anywhere, and he still had great guests and stuff like that. And I revered him. I mean, I didn't know him well. We talked a few times, but it's not like he was a friend of mine. And he also was one of the greatest tight ends you could think of for a guy that barely weighed 220 pounds and he just passed. I'm just curious if you had any interaction with him, or I'm assuming you probably listened to him back in the old days on 700 WLW.
I did. When I was young, I used to listen to him quite a bit. And you know, sometimes the knock on former athletes when they go into the media is they don't want to give strong opinions because they don't want to offend anybody. Bob did not have that problem. He was he knew what he thought. And I never actually interacted with him. I mostly know him because I wrote Tom Hammond's book, and he was an analyst Tom worked with, I think, on Notre Dame football.
Yep.
And Tom had a very high opinion of Bob, both thought he did a really good job and admired his enthusiasm, because I think when Bob sort of was working with Tom, it was after Bob had sort of been demoted from the number one NFL guy and was doing Notre Dame football sort of on the way down. But Tom said you never would have known that from how he approached the job. He was enthusiastic. He did his homework. He prepared, and Tom also said he was a really nice guy.
Yeah, he was a really nice guy. Lance McAllister told the story. They did some shows together, and I heard a few of them, and that Trumpy would come right at him, and they'd go up and back and stuff like that. And when his son, who was young at the time, had a problem with cancer, not only was Trumpy the first person to call him, but offered, hey, can I help you? Do you need blood from me? What do you need? Anything, whatever. And there was a really soft side to him that he didn't show on radio.
Yeah, again, most of my knowledge of him is through Tom. And, Tom said he's as good a guy as there was going.
This Kentucky basketball team, I think they're in what I would call a large group of teams that can make the Final Four. Like, to me, they're back in the basket. What happens? I don't know. But they're back in the basket, and that's about as good of a hype as I can give. Is that fair? Is your analysis going into the season higher, lower?
I'm a little less certain on them just because I have some question. I don't think there is nearly as much sort of demonstrated past offensive performance on this roster as there was last year. Now, I think there are other attributes that last year didn't have. Should be much better defensively. I think should rebound better. Not contrary to what we saw against Georgetown, I think it should ultimately be a more physical team. I guess I'd like to see the ball go in the basket, see how regularly that's going to happen before I I'm ready to declare them in that basket you mentioned.
Last thing, Kenny Brooks. He seems to have on paper a deeper roster. Lost a young lady who was 6'7", excuse me, not 6'11", and says he has his tallest team, and they have a shot of being even better than last year, the way I look at it. How do you see it?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I went to I don't know if they were calling it a media day. They had a media availability for the whole squad last week, and I was looking up at a surprising number of people, and I'm 6'2". So, it's crazy to see just how long they are, because I think of Kentucky, especially in the Matthew Mitchell era, it was all guards and scrambling defense, and now they're really, really long. I think Tony Morgan, brought in from Georgia Tech, was probably the second best point guard in the portal, behind Olivia Miles, who left Notre Dame for TCU. She's not going to be Georgia A more, but I do think she's a good player, and they should have more depth and more balance than they had last year. And I think he's doing a really good job. And you look at how they're recruiting. I've always thought I've always thought Kentucky basketball should be Kentucky basketball, whether it's men's or women's. And I think Kenny's sort of raising the bar here. And I think Kentucky should go to Final Fours. I mean, that should be kind of what Kentucky basketball does, men's or women's. And I think if he stays on the track he's on, I think he's going to get there.
I agree, and it should be the same. Kentucky, men or women, it should be any different. Last one, Mark. I got one more last one. I have no feel as to what kind of crowd there will be Saturday night. After coming off a win, you would think it'd be a much bigger crowd, but if it's not, is that a political statement towards Stoops? I mean, you tell me. I have no feel at all. I don't even have a guess as to what the crowd will be Saturday night.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the crowds have been good. I think partly they've been fortunate in, Texas brought a lot of people, and then obviously Tennessee brought a lot of people. Florida not having a great year, having already fired their coach. I'm going to guess they're not traveling a great deal. So what's there will be Kentucky. My guess is it'll be okay. It won't be embarrassing, but it won't be great, would be my guess.
Mark, anything else going on in sports that you're fired up about?
Well, as a Los Angeles Dodgers fan, I was pretty fired up about that Miguel Rojas home run that saved the season. And then, I was real fired up about the World Series.
The bunt that he had when they knew he was going to bunt and they threw the ball really inside, as you know, you throw it in somebody's hands to make it difficult to bunt. And he got that bunt down, was one of the better plays of the World Series because it's so difficult to bunt that ball. He's a really good player, fundamentally sound, and to be sitting on the bench all that time, and he made the defensive play and that bunt and the home run that Dodger fans remember there were so many clutch plays.
Yeah, that was I was at the football game, so I was sort of half following it on Twitter, and then saw the last two innings in the press box. But yeah, that you could write a novel on that Game 7, all the twists and turns. And while I'm happy it came out the way it did, I mean that just had to be excruciating for Toronto fans. You were 2 outs away.
Yeah, 2 outs away. I still think it's not fair, and more power to the Dodgers. One, they deserve to win, they earned it, but you can't have teams that spend $156 million on the tax, and that being more than many, many, many teams spend on their entire roster. They have to fix that. I don't blame the Dodgers. They had the money. They spent it. They won. More power to them, taking advantage of the rules. But the rules are, to me, is dumber than a you-know-what, and I don't think it's going to change.
Well, I think the players would be nuts to agree to a salary cap. So, I mean, why would they? Look, I'm not objective. I'm a Dodger fan. But to me, the problem in baseball, you've just got too many people who own teams that don't have enough money for what it takes now.
I agree with that. The Pittsburgh Pirates should have somebody like Mark Cuban who wouldn't care about another $30 million to put fans in the stands and that kind of thing. That is a problem. There's no question about it. I like how you said you're not objective. You're a Dodger fan.
Well, I'm not. I mean, I've always tried to be honest where my biases are, and I'm a Dodger fan, so that's
as
not
a Kentucky,
objective on that.
I'm sorry, Mark, as a Kentucky boy, how the hell did you become a Dodger fan?
Well, I just have always liked, when I was 5 years old, I think I've always had when I was 5, our high school wore blue and white, so I was favorably inclined toward blue teams, and I just liked the Dodgers.
There you go. One of my best friends growing up had red hair, hated the New York team. So he grew up as a child as a Cardinal fan. He still is. The logic is there's no logic sometimes. It is what you like. Hey, Mark, thank you so much. Tell everybody how to read you and Twitter and the Herald Leader and your columns and all that kind of good stuff. And I appreciate your time.
Well, you can read me at Kentucky.com on my column site. Just, click on sports and go to Mark's Story, and everything I write will be there. You can follow me on X at Mark C. Story. I'm on Blue Sky also at some version of Mark C. Story, and I'm on Facebook, and I post stories on LinkedIn too. So there's a lot of ways to get to my content.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Alan.
Mark Story, Dodger fan. Interesting. Growing up, what did he say? His high school team was blue and white. He always liked blue and white, became a Dodger fan. How the hell did you become a Giant fan?
I was actually born and raised in the Bay Area before my family moved to Florida when I was in middle school. So my dad was just lifelong. He became a Giants fan way back in the day, in the Willie Mays days.
Okay.
A little bit after that. But they had season tickets to the Niners. We would go to Giants games all the time, so it's just never left.
Your dad had season tickets to the Niners? I knew how you became a fan, but I didn't know.
I think it was 84 he got the season tickets.
Really?
Yeah, it was after the first Super Bowl, but they're in the middle in the 80s and had them until we left California in 2005. So I was very lucky growing up. Got to go to a lot of pretty cool games.
I would think getting those tickets after they won the Super Bowl had to be very pricey.
Yeah, and they had been on a waiting list for quite a long time.
Really?
Yeah. From what I was told, it was him and 3 of his other buddies. They all went together and whenever we can get him, we're going to get him.
We're going to get him.
Yep.
Interesting.
Second row from the top at Candlestick Park is where they were.
I'm sorry. Did you say Bob Uecker seats?
Yes. Yeah. Great view from up there. You can see the whole valley.
Really?
Almost.
Okay, the obvious question is, with the wind at Candlestick back in the old days, were you guys freezing your blank, blank, blank off?
Yes, that's the main thing I remember being up that high as a kid. Is it was cold no matter what time of year. When the Giants used to play baseball there, it just didn't matter what time of year. It was always going to be breezy and kind of cold.
You know, it's been said forever that Willie Mays would have probably had at least 100 more home runs had he played in any other park.
Yeah. Not very conducive to hitters.
Which is kind of sad. You still haven't read the Willie Mays book.
I have it. I've started it. I have not gotten all the way through. I actually got it from my dad for Christmas last year. Told me it's the first book he's read in like 20 years.
Okay.
Read it cover to cover, though.
I bet your dad liked it.
Oh, yeah, he did.
It's really insightful about his childhood. And the other thing that comes out is how smart Willie was about baseball. One of the things I always had a tremendous respect for the old Negro Leagues is how these guys talk baseball around the clock, because they were together all the time on the buses and this and that and all the little things that got into the major leagues, like the Pepper game and this game. You know, the first night game was the Negro Leagues. There were so many things that came out of the Negro Leagues. It was just unbelievable, and they've never got enough credit for it. But how many guys were just so smart because they lived baseball? Can you imagine being a catcher and sometimes catching 3 games in a day?
No chance.
Yogi Berra used to catch both ends of a doubleheader. I wonder when the last time is in the major leagues that a catcher caught both ends of a doubleheader. I bet it's been years and years and years and years. Johnny Bench used to do it all the time. Doug told me, Doug Flynn, that Bench didn't like to sit out. And he didn't want Plummer to catch. Not that he was afraid that Plummer was going to take his job. Bill Plummer was a nice backup catcher. Probably should have played another 15 games a year, that kind of thing. And Johnny did not want to come out. And I wonder if his knees got shot a little early because of that. He just didn't want to. It was a sense of pride with these guys. The Yogi Berra thing, I mean, he was just a little man, but man, both ends of the double. It took a lot for them to convince, and Elston Howard was a great catcher, to let Elston catch more, and then they finally stuck Yogi at times in left field to kind of save him.
According to Google, Yogi Berra caught both ends of a 117 doubleheaders in his career.
Wow.
This here also says Luis Torrens for the Mariners in 2022 was the last one to do it.
I think that was because of injuries, as I recall. I'm pretty sure about that, but we'll leave that alone. Interesting. You're going to love the book. I've told you the story about why the Boston Red Sox didn't sign Willie Mays, right?
It was a race issue?
Well, yeah, they didn't like African-American players. That's not breaking news. That was well known. But in the scouting report, you haven't got that deep in the book. I love this part. And I hope not to ruin 2 or 3 pages, but they had a picture of the scouting report by the scout, and it said he couldn't hit a curveball. So they didn't go after him. And you know what Willie's remark to that was? They're right. Back then I couldn't hit a curveball, but I learned to hit a curveball. And doesn't that speak volumes? Like the scout thinks you're supposed to be a perfect player, but let's see. He could run like the wind. He got a great jump on the ball defensively back then. He had a spectacular arm. He ran the bases with ferocity, and he hit the hell out of fastballs. Oh, he can't hit a curveball. Gee, when you're 17 years old, are you a finished product? Or if you knew that the guys in the Negro Leagues were so smart and learned and that kind of stuff, you would get better? It's one of the worst scouting reports I think I've ever seen. He can't hit a curveball. And I love, yeah, you're right. I couldn't hit a curveball back then, but I learned. I mean, how many people end up learning? Incredible. Matter of fact, there were 3 or 4, and I'm trying to remember, I need to look it up, 3 or 4 of the best African-American players of Willie's time that should have been and could have been Red Sox, and they had the upper hand, and they decided that they didn't want any of them. Probably cost them a lot of World Series. Interesting. You'll love the book. You are going to love the book. And you'll love it if you call Elliott Services if you have need for an electrician. 859-255-5788. 859-255-5788. Elliott Services. 100% employee-owned. Licensed, background check, and non-commission-based technicians. They've been great for me. And the success of the job, as I say, is the success they have in the company. Employee owned. Think about it. Tons of stuff they do. Residential heating and air, whatever. Home generator services, whatever you need in that capacity. Sales, installation, maintenance, repair, replacement. Home electrical handyman services, which we needed tremendously. They were great. EV charge and installation maintenance, which we needed. 2 different things I needed from Chuck Ely in 2 different time periods over, 3, 4, 5 years. Heating and air, preventative maintenance programs. Voice, data, Wi-Fi solutions, underground utility, service and installation of traditional heat pump split systems, whether it's furnaces, whatever, electrical renovations and fix-ups, HVAC system, whatever. Elliott Services, check them out, 859-255-5788, 859-255-5788. 5788. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrell Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quantrell family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
My name is Terry Schultz, CEO for the Rutherford County Area Habitat for Humanity. Republic Bank has really been a game changer. They have invested not only financially, but time to really listen so that we can move our mission forward. What I like about Republic Bank is they've come in asking, what are your needs? And I don't know that you get that any other place.
That's Terry's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
This is Brent Clark with my daughter, Carlisle.
We want to help you get ready for the holidays. So if you are just headed around the block or far away, stop in, gas up, and get some yummy treats for the car. Check out our holiday specials, including Mentos or Trident Vibes bottle pack gum for $3.99 or Uncle Ray's potato chips 3-ounce bags for $1.99.
So no matter where your holiday travels take you, stop in any Clark's Pump and Shop and get stocked up on holiday candy, and thank you for being a customer.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Jimmy, when you've got it queued up of Cam and Dane, or Dane first, Cam, Law, and then Maxwell, when you got them together, give me a thumbs up, as I asked you to do way too much stuff in the commercial. Really? That fast? Okay.
What? You just ran through that order real quick.
Dane would be first.
Okay.
Cam Miller would be second. Law would be third. Maxwell fourth. Some really neat plays over the weekend. When you got it, let's hit it.
It's Raiola, fade to the other side, and in tight coverage, it is caught for the touchdown! Dane Key! What a start for the Huskers! He wants to throw, adjusts, puts a dunk up, it is intercepted! Taken away by Auburn! Still on his feet past the 50! There is, a ball came loose late. Fagans had the pick, and then it was stripped away by Cameron Miller pursuing from the backside. It's a true freshman making that play, by the way. Miller Rodriguez back in there. And he springs Law on the screen, and Law takes it across the goal line. Our first touchdown of the night under Kendrick Law. Catch and run. Deep ball.
in the double coverage. And it's picked off. Picked off by Hairston, the rookie.
The rookie. Welcome back, Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. A lot of really good plays there. Dane Keith's made some huge catches for Nebraska. And, Jimmy, I'm sure you've noticed the same thing. He doesn't have a lot of space between himself and the DBs. It's like at least every touchdown pass that he's had that I've seen, and I've seen a number of his plays this year that get thrown up, it's really tight between him and the DB, and he's got great hands, and he goes up and gets the ball, and his hands are spectacular, making tough plays. Boy, could Kentucky use him this year. And then how about Cam Miller? My goodness. So I'm watching Fox Sports over the weekend because I don't have ESPN now because of that Disney dispute. And, I would usually, about 99% of the time, if I'm home, I'll watch the ESPN show. So I rarely watch the Fox show, and they did a really good job. When we get ESPN back, I'm going to start watching Fox a little bit. I wonder if there are other people like that too. You're ticked off you don't have ESPN. You see that another show is doing a good job, so you're going to kind of check it out a little more. So Urban Meyer did this thing about wide receivers and how good the wide receivers are at Ohio State. And Jimmy, you'll love this as a wide receiver. And I was surprised. He said the first thing that Brian Hartline, brother of Mike, former UK quarterback who's on Kentucky's staff, that the first thing they teach the wideouts is the defensive mood. And he said it more than once. The first thing. In other words, if you can't get the ball, make sure the ball hits the ground. And he was big on that and how hard they teach that. I was really surprised that was the first thing he says that a Hartline teaches. And then Cam Miller comes in, a freshman, knocks the ball loose. He got a game ball afterwards, and he had a grin from ear to ear. Are you surprised that Urban Meyer said that the first thing the Ohio State receiver coaches teach and Hartline teaches is to play defense first? If you have to, don't let the ball be picked off. Make sure it hits the ground. The first thing, I was kind of like if he said there were 3 things, and that was number 3. Or if there were 4 things, and that was number 4. That was the first thing he said that's taught.
It makes it even crazier because Ohio State that's literally the new wide receiver U. Like every receiver that comes through there is a first-round pick and performs in the NFL. So Hartline must be doing something right, or maybe he just assumes, okay, they're coming in here with all the basic fundamentals. Let's teach them this that was probably never taught in high school. They probably had no need to.
Hartline, according to Urban, is a great recruiter, and people have said that. He's probably going to be a head coach somewhere next year. I bet his brother Mike goes with him wherever he is. And I can see Mike becoming a very good offensive coordinator. He really developed into an outstanding quarterback at Kentucky and improved himself tremendously. I just thought that was interesting that the first thing he said. And so Miller gets the game ball, which is beautiful. And as much as Law gets the ball for Kentucky, I'm surprised he's not targeted even more. Man, he's got speed and shakeability, and he makes guys miss. I mean, he should be targeted more. And how about Maxwell with Buffalo? The big pick to help win the game, and he'd been out for quite some time. And then his emotion when he made the pick. Man, anytime Buffalo and Kansas City, that's just, pardon the NBC phrase, that's just must-see TV. I mean, is there a better rivalry that you want to see right now than Kansas City and Buffalo as an NFL guy?
No, it's a guaranteed very good game every single year. Even if it doesn't start at some point, it will be a competitive game in the second half.
Isn't it fascinating how Buffalo always seems to win? Take a look at the record during the regular season, and then Buffalo can't beat Kansas City in the playoffs. Do you think Casey's juices just goes up to another level, that Buffalo wants it so bad in the season will take care of you? Is Mahomes better in the playoffs? I don't know. It's just the record is so strong each particular way that it's just nuts.
It's the new Brady Manning, where as soon as the playoffs come around, you knew it was going to come down to Brady or Manning, aside for a couple years there for like a decade, it seemed like. And this is what it is. During the regular season, Josh Allen's always great. The Bills are always great. Playoffs, it's never really Josh Allen's fault that the Bills don't win, but it does seem that way, that for whatever reason, KC they have Buffalo's number when it comes to the postseason.
You think they're psyched out when they play in the postseason? You think there's a little something in the pit of their stomachs because they haven't done it? Kind of like when the Dodgers finally beat the Yankees in 1955. There was this albatross around their necks because the Yankees had dominated them forever. It's kind of like the same thing, the way Casey has dominated Buffalo in the playoffs. I think the analogy is bullseye. Now, the 55, it's a little before your time. That Johnny Padres, I know if Mark Story's listening, he'll remember that. I'm actually saying that because of Mark Story, being a Dodger fan who joined us earlier. But, they were called the Bums. They were the Brooklyn Bums. I actually have a T-shirt, the Brooklyn Bums, and they couldn't beat the Yankees. When they finally did, I mean, that part of New York went freaked out crazy. I think it's in their heads. Do you?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when it comes down to the end of a game situation. It's like everyone in the stadium, regardless of which stadium it's in, they know what's going to happen. The coaches, the player, it's almost like that. It's just ingrained in what the finish of the game's going to be. And every year's the year for Josh Allen and the Bills to do it.
Every year's the year. You know what? I hope they win a Super Bowl one of these days. They'll win one before the Bengals. Oh, let's do this. Cue up the Bengals sound. You did. I know you bleeped it out, right?
Yeah, as much as I wanted to keep it, just for the emphasis that's there. But yes, I did.
So I'm watching the Bengals game, and I'm just piddling around, doing some stuff for the show, and the Bengals are losing. Their defense just really sucks. And I was about to walk away, and there's like a couple minutes left, and then Flacco, was it 49 seconds or something like that the Bengals scored 15 points, and they were down 41-27, and they take the lead, and there's not much time left. and maybe as bad of a tackling attempt as you could see in any clutch situation. I mean, is a guy named Jordan Battle. I'm not ripping him, but you sucked at what you did. You got a big, strong tight end who's a rookie. He catches the ball over the middle, and he hits him with a shoulder. How about using your arms and wrap him up? And Battle got knocked down like he was a piece of Swiss cheese. Did you see how quickly he went down?
Yeah, he did.
He just, boom, he went down. And then the rookie tight end, boom, just scored. And it's got to the point that the Bengals defense is so bad. Remember, they fired their defensive coordinator because defense wasn't any good, and he quickly got the job in Indianapolis, and they really like him in Indianapolis. He was a really good defensive coordinator, and it wasn't his fault. I want to tell you, I'm not into cutting a guy because of missing a tackle, but if I ever was, let's put it this way, if Paul Brown was still alive and running the franchise, he would have cut Jordan Battle. Did you ever hear the story about Paul Brown in training camp one time? They played an exhibition game, and he cut a punter at halftime.
I did not.
It's Paul Brown. His book is fascinating, by the way. He would have cut Battle, would have absolutely cut Battle. Yeah, and the guy had to find a way to get home by himself. How about that? That's the way it was back then. It was a different time. And so Flacco has been spectacular. I mean, spectacular. And his throwing shoulder was hurt, yet he played. And his touch on his passes were terrific. Yeah, he threw a pick he shouldn't have thrown. Okay, he's throwing a lot of passes, and he eyed the guy down a little bit. That's fine. But the guy has been absolutely, I think, spectacular. And to play with that injury on your shoulder, right, when you think it would affect how he throws the ball, he was that good. So last week, I thought the defense was horrendous like you did, but the offensive guys kind of covered. And they've been covering for him. Well, I think they're sick and tired of covering for him. So you got Chase, as good a wide receiver as there is in football, and Brown, the tailback who I liked. You probably won't remember when they picked him in the 5th round. I went on that Monday and said, you're going to like this guy. He's really good. I love him. And he's really turned out to be a hell of a 5th-round draft choice with all the bad draft choices the Bengals have. So you're going to hear Chase and Brown. And I applaud Chase because he didn't want to do the interview. And he's being a stand-up guy, and it's going to get to the point, I think these guys are going to say to the media, we're not talking to you. The offense, fairly so, is so ticked off at the horrendous defense. It's just unbelievable how bad the Bengals. Can you tackle? Can you make a tackle? Can you not stick your shoulder in? Can you put your arms around somebody and try to wrap them up? So these two very good, one great, and one very good offensive players in the locker room after the game when the Bengals choked again because of their defense.
I'm going to stay in my lane. I don't want a defensive player coming to chew me out about what the I'm doing. We just got to play complementary football. Like, we put the ball in the end zone and go up a point at the end, finish the fucking game. Like, just end it. Like, that's it. Like, that's what we need to do. Just end the fucking game. Like, make them get us the ball back, let us fucking go to 22 victory, and let's end the game. That's how I feel.
Jimmy, you think we know how they feel?
At least I think we know how Chase Brown feels for sure.
Oh, I don't. I don't think Mr. Whiteout Chase feels any differently.
No,
I just think Whiteout has been interviewed more and is a little calmer. But you saw his face too. He was, he was just as upset. By the way, I thought this was an interesting stat. This is the first SEC game on the road for Kentucky that a freshman has won the game since good old Morgan Newton in 2009. 2009. That really shows you how bad it's been. The other thing is, Jimmy, I'll no filter myself. I thought last year Ferrier was going to be the top wide receiver, and I was wrong. And one of the coaches made a comment about a week or so ago that it hasn't gone his way, yet he's hanging in there and now working harder in practice. And he had 2 big third down catches. And I can't figure out why he hasn't been better. I think he's got all the talent in the world. Sometimes it just doesn't seem to work out. But give him a little love. DeAndre Square, great defensive player and a leader for Kentucky after the game on Twitter put, "It's so good to see Stoops smiling, man. I'm so happy for the guys." And the last one, Garrett Johnson. The win was for more than the stat sheet. This was needed for confidence and reassurance. I'm happy for Stoops and his team. And he puts at UK football with a love sign. Pretty cool. Thank you to the Lanter & Lanter Law Firm. Always fun talking with them. Thank you to Mark Story. One of our guests tomorrow will be Alan Feldhouse, whose daughter makes her debut tonight for Morehead State against Kentucky. I'm going to the game. I'm looking forward to it. As always, Jimmy, thank you so much. I appreciate you, dude. Thank you for listening. Thank you for telling a friend. Have yourself a great day. Matthew and Jimmy at 10. I'll be back.